Though hard evidence is lacking, Marshall believed his selection flowed from his lobbying efforts in Washington. Marshall sat for the 3-day examination in late September at Governor's Island in New York Harbor. Despite poor performances in math subjects and grammar, he received one of the highest average scores, including perfect marks for physique, moral character, and antecedents, meaning distinguished relatives, notably Supreme Court Chief Justice John Marshall. Commissioning was delayed until after he reached the age of 21. Instead of the Artillery Corps, his first choice, he was assigned to the infantry. With no training whatsoever, Second Lieutenant Marshall shipped out of San Francisco aboard the Army transport Kilpatrick to join the 30th Infantry in the Philippines. Flicker, the nickname a young Irish girl had bestowed on George when he was a sandy-haired, freckle-faced boy running carefree through the streets and alleys of Uniontown, became a distant memory. For the ensuing 50 years, he would defend his country as soldier and statesman. General George C. Marshall, who served under 10 presidents, occupies a singular place in the history of the 20th century, yet his significance is fading from public memory. His achievements, and particularly his character, must never be forgotten. As a soldier, Marshall influenced the course of each of the 2 world wars that swept away the European system of power, colonialism, and international order. As a statesman, he husbanded the policy of containment of Soviet aggression and faced up to the limits of American power in Asia. He lent his name and reputation to the Marshall Plan, arguably the most significant initiative in American diplomacy since the Louisiana Purchase. These moves triggered the divisions of Europe and Korea, the 40-year Cold War, and the rise of China, while a nuclear holocaust was avoided. No one person comes close to matching Marshall's ubiquitous yet selfless presence throughout the history of the last century. Recalling George Marshall's power to influence people and events, former Secretary of State Dean Acheson wrote that the moment he entered a room, everyone in it felt his presence. It was a striking and communicated force. Legendary Speaker of the House Sam Rayburn remarked that Marshall had the presence of a great man. He doesn't dissemble. He would tell the truth even if it hurt his cause. Congress always respected him. They would give him things they would give to no one else. While Marshall's accomplishments and the respect he commanded during his professional life were unrivaled, the answer to the question of why he matters today lies in the values and principles that shaped his character. Marshall lived by a moral code that emphasized self-control, perseverance, integrity, truth, honor, and duty. He was a humble man. Even the instructions he left for his funeral reflected this. Bury me simply, like any ordinary officer of the U.S. Army who has served his country honorably. No fuss, and above everything, do it quietly. Like most of the World War II generals, he could have made a fortune writing an autobiography or a memoir. He declined all offers, preferring to let the record he left behind speak for him. Marshall abhorred any activity that attracted attention to himself, and he certainly did not want to offend or embarrass any of the people he had associated with during his decades of service. 30 years have passed since the last 2 praiseworthy and widely read biographies of George Marshall were written. In large part, these works were based on Forrest Pogue's monumental 4-volume biography of Marshall. Much has been revealed since then, bringing new perspectives, shifts in attitudes, and revisions upon revisions from all sides relative to Marshall's successes, failures, and significance. 5 of the 7 volumes of Marshall's annotated papers were not even published until after the release of these 2 biographies. Diaries, letters, films, interviews, including several conducted by the author, and documents mouldering in the British National Archives have emerged that were simply not available to or unearthed by Pogue and subsequent biographers. From all of the materials that have emerged since 1990, Marshall's critical role in 4 wars during the 20th century, 3 hot and 1 cold, becomes even more vivid than the portrait drawn by Pogue.